When God calls us to do something, He gives us a vision, He gives us a hope. When we begin to actually move towards it, we not only see that hope become a reality, we see that our relationship with God gets closer. Because if God has birthed an idea in you, God has given you something that it's bigger than you and it's not borrowed, it's yours, it's unique to you, then you acting it out, you putting that faith behind it, you moving in that direction towards it, it's good for your own soul. You become closer and closer to the person you were meant to be. Well, good morning. Hello. How are you guys doing? Good. It is packed in here. It's nice though. It's toasty. It's good because it's like sweater weather right now, isn't it? It is. It is. How are you guys up there? Nice, nice. Hey, can we make some noise for those who are joining us online? Can we do that? They're live streaming us. Hey, we love you. Chat with us. It's awesome. It's awesome to be here with you guys. So this morning, I think we've got some people from who evacuated as well. We got a few, I think. You have anybody over here who want to make a few, maybe one, two? Okay, that's good. It's good. We love you. That's awesome. If you'd like to sleep here, if you can, if you want to, we're going to leave this place open, I think this week or something. If there's a need, we want to be a hope center, so we want to make sure we do that as a church, leave our doors open. I want to have a conversation this morning, which if you've been following us along with us for a couple of weeks, you're like, hey, I thought we were done with that. But we're not quite done with it because I really want to go back to that conversation. So here's what I'm saying. Several weeks ago, we started this series called Lean In. And leaning into, sorry, I got so distracted. Sorry. I was like, leaning into babies? No. Leaning into what God is doing in you and through you. And so I've talked about, really identifying your vision, your mission, and really walking through that with you, and talked about how we're doing that. And so I kind of ended the conversation, but I feel like I gotta come back and talk about this one thing that people don't like to talk about in church because it's money. But I really want to have a conversation about the fact that your dream and your idea and your vision of what you see in the future and the kind of life you want to live requires you to be really good at managing your money. So here's why I came back to this thought. So I went on my first fishing trip ever. How many of you are fishermen? Anybody? Fisherwomen? Okay, I have a video of my first fishing experience, and when I say ever, I mean ever. Like you might think, really? It's ever. So this is it. This is me right here. Watch this. Unhooking this bad boy, giving it a root canal of sorts. Oh, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad for you. I'm so sorry. Open up, dude.
You gotta kiss it.
No, I can't. Come on. Ow. Killing it. Fish is dead. This thing is hooked. Okay. We cut the video because it floated away, and it was ridiculous. It was fun. It was actually sponsored by this organization called One Hope, and their big idea is to get in the hands of every child in the world the Bible. Like they want to put in the hands of every kid the scriptures, either through app, which they actually launched their app, the first Bible app. And it is actually, in fact, right now, the most downloaded app, kids app in the world. And so they have, they've done some incredible things in getting the scriptures to kids. So the CEO or the guy who started this was telling the story of how his dad and him kind of started this whole dream. They had an idea, they had a dream, and they thought, what if we were able to do that? And I think for some of us, like when I talk about what's that dream, what's that vision in your life, for some of you, you have something. It might not be grand to the world, but it's really pretty big for you. For some of you, you're in college. Anybody in college? Anybody? We got some college students in the house. Of course we do, right? And so you're getting out. You have this idea of, hey, this is what I want to do. And some of you guys are out of college going, oh, God, help me. Like, where is my life going to take me? I mean, we all have dreams. We all have ideas, big ideas about where we want our life to be. And we have a vision. And so these guys had a vision, and he tells the story of how they had the big idea to get every child in the world a Bible, And he tells the story of the first time a country opened up and said, okay, well, this range of kids, how many kids do we have? We have 1 million of them. And I'm not quite sure if it was Nicaragua. I know we're online, so I'm not quite sure if that was the country. But a prime minister kind of just said, okay, we want 1 million. We'll give you permission to distribute 1 million. And they walked away going, oh my gosh, they were high-fiving each other. And then they asked the question, who's going to fund this? Like they were like, how are we going to fund this vision? Like who's going to pay for all of this? Now, this One Hope, they set up this fishing trip for us and pastors, and it was really cool because I thought, okay, so they're going to ask us to partner with them. And he starts off by saying, hey, by the way, I'm not asking for any money because our budget, the churches all over the U.S. Contribute to 8% of our budget, and our budget is $40 million. I was like, what? And he was like, he talks about one family that give 15 million a year. And I was like, I need their number. But I just feel God is saying that I need to reach out, pray for them. I mean, I'll sell you a handkerchief. I don't know, whatever. Like I need to do 15 million? What? And so he begins talking, and I start thinking, this is the question we have to ask ourselves. Who's going to fund your dream? Who's going to fund your vision? Who's going to fund the vision, the dream, the idea, the place you want to? How are you going to do that? Because you're going to get resources. And some of you are like, I don't have any. No, you're going to get resources. You're going to have funds. But how are you going to fund your vision? Are you aligning yourself to fund your dream? Because some of us, if you were honest, we would rather just God front our dream. Does that make sense? Like, hey, can you just give me a blessing? Give me. I just dropped something in the plate. We don't pass the plate, but I just did something. Can you front me? Can you give me a blessing on layaway? I'll give it back. It's one of those deals we make. But if you look at the scriptures, Jesus is like, hey, there's a particular kind of life you need to live. And so this morning what I want to do is I want to talk about that life, that the ideas that about managing resources to actually fund not my dream, not the church's dream, no, fund the dream that God's put in your heart. There are actually principles with that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a passage of scripture. You've probably read it before, and I want to just point out a couple of things in there. So it's Matthew. It's in the gospel. So Matthew chapter, let's see, what is it? It's chapter 6, I believe. Yeah. Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 to 34. Jesus starts talking about resources and money. And this is profound. So go on your phone, download it, just look it up, open up your Bible, do whatever you need to do. We're going to just stay there. Verse 19 starts off like this. So Jesus is talking. Okay, he says, hey, by the way, guys, let me tell you this. Don't store up your treasures on earth. He talks about, hey, the treasures, what you think is important, don't store them up on earth where moth steal them and rust destroy them and where thieves break in and steal. Okay? Now store your treasure in heaven where moth and rust cannot destroy and thieves cannot break in and steal. Wherever, this is verse 21, wherever your what's that word? Treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be. Now, he is talking to a different kind of people, right? They're oppressed, they're marginalized, they don't have a lot of resources. The Romans were in power, they were slaves to them. I mean, so when he talks about treasures, people go, they're not thinking what we're thinking. They're not thinking bank account, this, job situation, visa. They're not talking about what's in your wallet. That's not the issue. They have a different mindset, and they're like, okay, we worry about our resources, we worry about our treasures, we worry about our possessions, because Jesus is saying, hey, don't. I want you to reconsider the way you look at your resources, and then he says, I want you to understand something, that you need to not store up your treasure. In one sense, don't make your treasure something that rusts, that can be stolen, and that can be eaten away. That's pretty deep. What? What are you talking? He said, because see, your treasure connects to your heart, and your heart leans into the treasure. So whatever you make the treasure, that's what you're going to do. So fundamentally, if you don't figure out what your treasure is, like what your vision, dream, purpose in life is, where you want to go, you're not going to align your heart or your money or resources there. And it has to be bigger than, I just want to drive this car, and I just want to live here, and I just want this much in my bank account. So it's got to be bigger than that. It's got to be bigger than that. So the dream, the vision, the idea that you have, it's got to be bigger than just like, I really want to make 6 figures. Well, when you make 6 figures, you're going to be like, I really want to make more. Like that is not, because if you make that the treasure, it's not going to work. So if you let me give you 3 points, right, for all of these in this passage. The first one is this. Jesus is saying, I want you to live wisely. Wisely. Now, I mean, there are a lot of smart people that make a lot of dumb decisions. Wisdom doesn't come from age. It doesn't come from just knowing a lot of stuff. Wisdom comes from knowing and aligning everything to what you desire and what you want, and really making the choice of, okay, I'm going to do this today because tomorrow I'm going to step into that. I mean, so Jesus is saying, don't make your treasure something that will rot, something that can be stolen, something that can be taken away, which to us, we're like, okay, that is all our treasure. And in this season, hurricane season, when people are losing their treasure, the people who are going to be devastated the most, who have made that their treasure. Because you know this and I know this, that the most important things in life are not things. They're just not. But for some of us, when we talk about our resources, we align our hearts to it. So he's saying, live wisely. What does that mean? He's pointing out to the fact that some of us, we fall into the temptation of looking at other people's treasures and going, I think I want to make that my treasure too. Like, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about this? Like your spending habit and my spending habit would change if I didn't know how much, I didn't know what you had. But because I know what you have, my spending habits change. Like it would be so much nicer if I didn't know what you had and what you didn't have. And if I didn't know how much you made, it would be great because I'd be comfortable with what I made. But because I know, I have a problem. Like, you would spend less money if you just did not know what other people made or had. Like, okay, let me ask you this. How many, are there any guys in the house? Any guys? Make some noise. Nice. So the first service when I said, make some noise, all I heard was dog sounds. It was like, whoo, whoo, whoo. Right? And then I thought, man, why do guys make dog sounds? Have you ever thought that? They do. Like, some of you guys almost went, some of you, and woo, woo. Like, why can't you guys do meow? Like, why not a cat? It's weird, right? Nothing to do with the topic. Anyway, so Nothing to do with the topic. So going back to the guys, how many of you guys would say you're like a shoe guy? You like shoes? Anybody? Okay, you're the only one raising your hand. None of them are courageous enough to say it. How many guys who just love shoes? Anybody? Meow. I love shoes. I love shoes. I love shoes. Here's the problem with my love for shoes. If I see, like I'm comfortable with the kind of shoes I have and everything until I see yours. And then I'm like, I need those. I need those. Those would look better on me. Like, I need those. Okay, how many of you ladies in the house? Any ladies in the house? Yeah. See? Yeah. That was all guys who were making, okay, anywho. How many ladies like shoes? Anybody? Yes. How many of you walked at Mosaic and you don't even look at their faces? You look at their shoes, right? We tend to sometimes just focus on other people's treasures. It becomes our treasure. Our hearts, our minds, our affection line up to them. We start spending and using our resources towards that. So here's what Jesus is saying. Hey guys, understand something. You gotta know what your treasure is. You gotta know where your heart is. They are connected. Focus. Here's what usually people do when it comes to spending, okay? Number one, when they have resources, when you get money in, it doesn't matter if you got a college loan or you make money or allowance, it doesn't matter. First thing people tend to do is they spend. So it's like, this is the order. You spend, you save, and then you give. That's usually what happens. Our default mechanism is that we spend on bills, stuff we need, all that. We spend. Then we save that we have because we're like, oh, we don't have a lot, but I'll save a little bit because now at the end of the month or whatever, I do have a little bit. And then you give. That's how it works. And in your mind, you're like, you know what? If I have more to give this month, I'll give. That's what naturally you tell yourself. That's the natural order of things. But what's naturally, the norm is not working. Because the norm is, if you start with spending, you're gonna spend on everything you don't even need to impress people you don't even know. So you're gonna start doing that. Jesus says, I need you to live wisely. You need to switch the order. You need to change this whole scenario up. And there's a reason why he says it. Let's just go back into the passage because he starts taking this conversation even deeper. He says this. He says, verse 22, he says, your eye is like a lamp that provides light for your body. Okay, so if you're one of the disciples, if you're listening to him, all of a sudden Jesus is going off topic. You're like, what lights? What are we talking about here? And then he keeps on going. He says, when your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light. But when your eye is unhealthy, your whole body is filled with darkness. And if the light, this is profound. He says, and if the light you think is actually darkness, how deep that darkness is. What? And then he says this. After that, he says, no one can serve two masters. For you will hate one and love the other. You will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and be enslaved to money. Jesus throws out a lot of deep stuff right here, right in the middle of, like, I thought we were just talking about money stuff. Hey, just talk about tithing and give to the church and feel guilty and blah, blah, blah. He doesn't go there. He goes, I want you to live wisely, but secondly, I want you to live freely. I want you to live freely. I want you to be free. To which some people would say, what? What are you talking about? Have you noticed, like, you can, like on Monday, you'll probably walk into the office or you walk into your context and you'll see someone and their eyes will tell you what happened that weekend, maybe? You're like, did you drink too much? Like, or you didn't get any sleep? Have you ever looked at someone's eyes and you're in a conversation, maybe if with a client, and by their eyes you can be like, they're not buying any of this. Like, we got to change the course. Like, we got to change the conversation. Or you talk to someone and you're like, I love you. You look at their eyes, you're like, oh my gosh. And the reverse of that is, you look at someone's eyes and they are blank. It's like they're a guard. They're not letting you in. I mean, sometimes it happens with spouses. So let's just be real here. I mean, sometimes you're in this season and you're talking to each other. I mean, I've been married for like 17 years. I don't even know how long. We dated for 4. I mean, it's crazy. But there are seasons like you're talking and discussing about kids and situations, and the eyes can say, I'm not emotionally connected to this. Like we're just there's seasons. See, your eyes say a lot about you. And Jesus is saying this. He's looking at the crowd and he's saying, I see you. I see your eyes. You're enslaved. You are your eyes tell me everything. You are burdened down. You've been pushed around. You worry and the lack of things in your life and just the anxiety of making it and ever making it is killing you. You have worked and worked and worked and worked and you're so tired. Your soul is fatigued. It's running on empty. For others, he's looking at them and going, listen I can see your eyes. You think you are doing this. Like, how many of you have heard this? I work so many hours to provide. He's like, you're working yourself to death to provide for a family that doesn't even know you anymore. He said, I think you think it's light, but it's actually darkness. And how deep is it when you will, and we've seen this, right? We've seen this. We live in a generation, and our past generation, and even the current generation, we're seeing this. We see people be consumed with, we have to make this much. I have to earn this much. I got to work 90 hours to provide. And here's what you do: you forfeit key relationships. I mean, some people, and my dad did this, guys. We were five kids. He had 5 kids. He worked himself to death. I didn't know him. Why? Because you think that's light. You think it's good, but it's darkness. And then what he's saying is, then he takes that and he says, do you see what you're doing? You're actually being enslaved by this mentality, this ideology that you have to make a certain amount and you have to make things your master. Because that's what you're really doing. You are enslaved to your career. You're enslaved to this work. You're enslaved to the bottom line, dollars. And it's a cruel, cruel master. You're enslaved to money. Here it's saying, when it says you cannot serve 2 masters, God or money, the word money in the Greek is not like, cash, it's possessions. He's saying you're enslaved to it. You are either going to enslave or worship or focus on things that are created, or you're going to focus on things that, or focus on the one who created those things. But you can't do both. You either going to be driven by I need to do this and this, or you're going to be driven by something bigger. And that's why Jesus starts off the conversation and says, I want you to live wisely. Understand what your treasure is. Make sure it's one of those things that does not rot, cannot be stolen or eaten away. And then live free. Friends, you were made to live free. And see, money is tough because the more you get, it's the weirdest thing. Greed kind of takes in. I mean, how many of you would say that you're greedy? We won't. You don't even know. I love what one guy says, the pastor, he said, greed is the assumption that it's all for your consumption. I was like, that is so true. And I don't even see it in me. It's the one thing you can't see in the mirror sometimes. Bitterness, you can see in the mirror. Greed, if you're around certain people in your context, you don't even know. But greed is like it's all for your consumption. It's all for this, and it makes you go down a path. So how do you reverse this? You take what the norm was, the norm's habit is when you get resources and money, you spend, you save, and then you give. And Jesus says, hey, if you want to remove the shackles, you need to reverse that order. You need to start with give, then you save, then you spend. He said, you want to fundamentally, it doesn't matter how young you are, middle school, high school, with allowance, or college loans, do not, it's not free money. College kids, it's not free money. Can I get an amen from some people? Amen. You're still paying that off. It's been 45 years. You give, you save, then you spend. My kids, same thing. You give, you save, then you spend. That's the only way to break this ridiculous cycle. And here's how you do it. I'll give you a couple of tips here. Number one, when it comes to giving, saving, and spending, you pick a cause and you pick a percentage. You pick a cause and you pick a percentage. You're like, yeah, that's what, when you're thinking of how you manage your money, and especially when it comes to giving, you do that. Now, you're like, what does that look like? What does that mean? Like, listen, we're in church, right? I'm talking about money. Some of you guys are like, okay, when is it coming? When are you going to pass the plate? When are you going to start talking about tithing? We don't pass the plate. Some of you guys have been coming here for 11 years. You know we never pass the plate. Whenever we pass the plate, it has money in it to give to you guys. We don't pass the plate because see, God's not a taker. Do you know that? He's a giver. And he's a teacher. He's a father. And he goes, hey, it's all mine anyways. But I don't want to take from you. I want to teach you to fund the dream in your heart, to live a certain way. And you got to pick a cause and you got to pick a percentage. So I just happen to know a great cause. Of course. Right? I give to it. We give to it. We've been giving. And there's so many people who give to Mosaic. They've picked us as a cause. And then they've picked a percentage. And the tithing, the word comes from 10%. Here's what we do in Mosaic. We're like, hey, listen, I don't care what the percentage is. And honestly, if you were just visiting and leaving and you're just watching online from like Dubai, listen, I don't need it. I'm just telling you, pick a cause, wherever the cause is. If it's not us, then it's not us. But pick a cause and then you pick a percentage. Not like, hey, I'll give $5. No, pick a percentage. And you give first, and then you save, and then you spend. That will free you up to live the life God has called you to live. That's what you need to know about your resources and money. I don't know what you've heard when it comes to churches and money, but that's what Jesus talks about. He goes, I have put something inside of you, and I can't front you the money. You need to fund it. I'll give you all the resources. I mean, I know one person who sent me a picture of the trailer park that she grew up in. And then recently she showed me a picture of the lot that she bought for her first house. And I was like, I'm like, this is so awesome. But it didn't come from like, hey, God, I give a blessing, da-da-da-da-da. And that's no, it's not that. It's living a certain kind of way. You live wisely, you live freely. Lastly, you live courageously. When it comes to your resources, you live courageously. What do I mean by that? Well, Jesus does it. After he talks about this whole idea of your master and money and your eyes and all that, he goes into verse 25, he changes direction. He goes, let me just tell you, I'm telling you all of these things about your treasure, all of your things about your eyes. I'm telling you, this is why. He says, this is why I tell you. Don't worry about everyday life, whether you will have enough food or drink or enough clothes to wear. Isn't life more than food and your body more than clothing? He's like, isn't there more to life? I mean, there's got to be more to life, right? He said, go outside, take a walk, look at the birds of the air. They don't plant or harvest or store up food in barns, and your heavenly Father feeds them. And aren't you more valuable to him than they are? Of course you are. Verse 27, he says, can all your worries add a single moment to your life? What's the answer? No. And why do you worry about your clothing? Look at the lilies of the fields and how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing. Yet Solomon, which was an old king he's referencing here, he says, but yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautifully as they are. And if God cares so wonderfully for wildflowers that are here tomorrow and thrown into the fire tomorrow, I mean, will he not certainly care for you? Why do you have so little faith? Why are you freaking out about giving a percentage away? Why are you freaking out about this? Why does fear control your finances? Why? Live free, live courageously. Don't let yourself do this. He says, so don't worry about these things. Saying, oh, well, if I do this, what are we going to eat? And what are we going to drink? And what are we going to wear? He says, these things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers. He says, listen, if you claim to have any kind of faith in me, let me just tell you, please, 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 don't live like this. Don't live foolishly and don't live enslaved. Live free, live wisely, and live courageously. Believe. Do the right things and know that God's going to bless you. He says, but your heavenly Father already knows all your needs. And he says, seek first the kingdom above all else and live righteously, and he'll give you everything you need. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's troubles is enough for today. He says, friends, don't live that kind of life. You see, yet some of us, we're so wrapped up in it. And you know, you haven't been in a space, honestly. I don't know where you teach this, in college or in high school or I don't know, your job, they teach you how to manage money. You come to church and sometimes the conversation is, hey, listen, you need to give, and if you don't give, God's not gonna bless you. Or if you don't give, shame on you. This is not that message. It's bigger than that. I know families, you are so mad at each other and so mad at God and so mad at where you are. And can I just be honest? Can I be honest? It's because you've managed your God-given gifts poorly. And you just want God to front your dream. You want a sugar daddy. And you won't say it, but it is God. That's why when things go sideways, the first thing you do is, Jesus, help me. Maybe you don't do that. But you'll light a candle like 5 times. You'll do something. You're like, oh, could you pray for this? Could you pray for this? Could you pray? And God's like, listen. I can bless you. My grace is unfailing. My love pursues you. Favor more than you can ever dream and imagine. It doesn't end. I'll give you all the love, acceptance you want. But like if you've ever like sat down at a meal and asked God to bless something and you know it's like horrible for you. Have you ever done that? And you're like, God, please don't let it go to my thighs. Like, really? That's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. God, I pray for no heartburn, just burning for Jesus. Like, what? Don't eat that crap. Don't. That's what God's saying. He's like, I'm God, and I wouldn't eat that. So you can't be like, hey, God, just bless my finances. He's saying, hey, just could you live a certain way? And I promise you, if you live a certain way, if you live wisely, if you live free, and if you live courageously, I promise you that the dream I put inside of you will actually come to be. And friends, if you need more help, we can help with that. So let me pray for us. Okay? Lord God, thank you so much for this conversation. I pray that as we end the conversation today, as we go like candles, as we respond, I love this song that we're going to sing because it speaks into the very heart of some of our concerns. Some of us just need to break free from the power and of money and resources and the lack of our life. God, some of us grew up poor, and that idea has just stuck with us, and we're so afraid to be poor again. And for some of us, we grew up with resources, and we just are fearful that we can't keep up the lifestyle we have. And God, we are consumed with fear. And this is not the life you called us to live. It is not. You've given a dream, an idea, a vision in our hearts. And God, we are saying, God, we want to live wisely. We want to live courageously. We want to live free, not to be enslaved by anything else. God, we love you. And let's stand together.